Now once we have everything ready to insert our user information into database, let's try to do that. In order to perform any kind of insert operations into database, we require to do a HTTP post. Post is a HTTP verb. We will look into detail about it as we proceed further, but at this point of time we need to understand HTTP post is basically meant to insert any information into database. So HTTP post request is used to create a resource on server. Most of the time it is like creating or inserting at a database. Post should be used for non-idempotent request which changes the state of the server. Once I say it should change the state of the server, it is basically because of the fact that earlier the server was not having any user information. But once the post is done, server will have something new added to it and it changes the state of the server. So at the beginning we will be having a database which will not be having any information, and while performing this operation of HTTP post, we will be trying to insert the user information into database. So now let us look what we will be doing. So we will have a request body in JSON which we already have seen. We have not given ID here because we have said ID to be auto generated. And then we also have a corresponding class. Now over HTTP localhost 8080 we will be performing this operation and our endpoint will be user. So once we try to use this endpoint with HTTP post and this request body, we will be inserting it into database. In order to do that, we will be using our user controller, and we will add a new request mapping for it. So if you see this particular example, you will understand that this user has to be mapped with the path, and the request method will be post. And let us see it in detail once we try to do it. So this is our user controller class. We will be having a new endpoint here. So let us add it. Since we are going to create a user, we will be naming our method as add user. So what we are going to insert in this user, we will be using our user object. So the request body will be coming in user object. So let us add that. This is done by request body annotation, which is nothing but this. So what is the request body currently we are using? So we are using user as a request body. Now since it is having nothing as now, since we do not want to return at this point anything, so it is void. So how we will be saving this particular information? We earlier have created a repository which needs to be injected in this particular controller. So let us auto wire that. Now we'll use this user repository to save the information of user. So all we need to do is to just call save method. Now we'll use this repository object to insert our user into database. So it already now all you need to do is to call this save and send the entity which is user. So will it save the user information into database? Let us see it. Now we have to test that our API is working. In order to do that, we will use Postman to send the data and just test that this is working. Let us start with Postman. So since we have a post request, to just change the HTTP verb to post, we have to add some information of users in JSON format. So we'll use this one, and let's change the values since just from text to JSON. This will also add a header, if you notice, which is nothing, that the content type is application JSON. Let's add the content. And last name to McFullen. Now once we send it, we expect that this data will be saved in database. So let's do it. On doing it, we got a status as 200 OK, which means everything went fine. So let us log in. Now we have a user table here, and it should have at least one entry. And you see here, right here, the entry is available and the ID is 1 because we say that ID has to be auto-generated. We have everything done for a post. So if we look at this current example, all we got is status 200 back. And if you look at the body, we have got no body. So this means that despite the fact that we have saved data, we did not have anything except status 200. In such cases, it will be really difficult sometimes to understand what has happened inside. You might would love to get the created user back, or at least have some sort of confirmation where you can say that the user has been successfully created. Might be with the user's ID in the header, or why not if the entire user information is sent back to you along with the ID. So let us look back and refine our example a little more. So in this particular one, so we were sending void. So since we are sending void, we are not getting any data back, apart from the fact that we are getting HTTP status 200. 200 is a very generic status which is sent every time when there is a successful request. That's why 200 means okay, so everything has went fine. But let us be a little more specific. Since we are trying to post, that means we are trying to create. So why not we should send a status which does indicate that the resource has been successfully created over the server. For any of the response that we do send in Spring Boot or say Spring World, there is a wrapper class called response entity. So let us change our example a bit and add response entity here. So I'm adding response entity with user. So I want to send the entire information of user which we will be creating. Why not we name the variable as created user. Okay, so now we do have a variable ready. We have to wrap it with the response entity and send it back. Let us try to do that. So return new response entity. So it takes HTTP status, and also if you look at the other different kind of constructor that it has, it also takes the body. So we will be sending this particular body which we have added along with the status. So currently we were getting HTTP status 200, which means everything went fine. So there is a enum called HTTP status, which is Spring Framework, and let us see what it does give us. So it is providing with so many range of different status of HTTP. So for created, we can see there is already a status like created. And once you return it, so next time we expect that the response will have the entire user created information along with the 201 header, 201 HTTP status code. So let's see it in live. Let us send this request one more time. Once we send this request, you can see that currently we are getting the entire response back with the ID and all those fields. And if you look at the status, it also says that it is 201. 201 is a very standard HTTP status code which does indicate that the resource has been created successfully onto server. In next chapter, we will look how to retrieve this particular user which we have inserted. We will also look at one of the very interesting annotation called path variable. Till then, bye.